Welcome to The Author Next Door, where hosts Angela Haas and Cassie Newell chat about the wild world of writing and publishing. Join them for weekly episodes and special monthly guests. Pull up a chair. The conversation starts now. Welcome to episode 30. I'm Angela Haas, and I'm here with my co-host Cassie Newell, and this month we're doing a character study where we discuss what it takes to create characters readers will love. Today we are talking with USA Today bestselling author Nick Thacker. Nick is, as I just said, a USA Today bestselling author with over 40 thrillers published to his name. He owns and operates Conundrum Publishing, book career in a year, and he runs the Write Repeat workshops and writing intensives. In addition, he's built businesses for authors like author.email, the only email marketing platform for authors, and radiowrite.com, the 24/7 writing inspiration radio platform. He's currently the VP of Author Success with Draft to Digital, focusing on getting authors to the next level. And his passion is to help authors figure out what their plan is, not just what, but the how and the why. These are the missing pieces, the things that will skyrocket your book career. So he took time out of all that and just played a hockey game, and he's here. Nick, thank you so much for being here.
Well, happy to be here. That was quite the bio. I should check to make sure all that stuff is still accurate and I'm still doing it. So, I got to check into that one. I should probably make sure that's still up and running.
I'm sure it is. Well, we are excited to take a deep dive into characters today. We're going to talk about writing male and female characters. But how was writing that hockey romance for you? Because you're known for writing thrillers, and then I'm on your email list, and I was like, just going about my business, and you're like, hey, I wrote a hockey romance, and I was just like, hello, where, how? And it was amazing. But you play hockey, so you have such an in. So what was that process like for you, and why did you want to do that?
Well, so truth be told, it was a dare. I tried to keep my big mouth shut. You play hockey and I'm on team and everything. So same guys in the locker room all the time. And girls, and somebody let it out that I was an author, and so of course the next thing was all the guys were like, well, you're going to write a hockey romance and, all that. And I said, you know what? Fine. Yeah, I'll do it. Sure. And I didn't know anything. I'd never read a hockey romance, it's just, it was not my genre. So I thought, well, I'll investigate a little bit and I'll read a couple of these and see what's up, and we'll go from there. And I loved it. I read a couple, Emma St. Clair, just all sorts of different, anything I can get my hands on, really. I was trying to find the right kind of spice level, which, that's a thing apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really, I fell in love with it. It's such a fun genre. So when I wrote mine, again, I always came into it like, I don't really know what I'm doing. So we'll see if this works. So the goal with it was just to see if I could do it. But yeah, I've got 50 something books, so I know how to do that part. I figured I could at least, tell a story, and, if the story was any good, the readers would let me know. So I published it under, my name is Nick Ryan Thacker. And so I just published it under Nick Ryan because I wanted to separate it a little bit from the thriller stuff. I certainly don't want any of my readers coming across it thinking it's a thriller and picking it up and,
right,
being pleasantly surprised. But no, like you said, I had I sent it out to my mailing list and said, listen, I'm not trying to, tell you guys you have to buy this, but if you're interested or somebody who is, give it a shot. And I had a lot of good, it was a good response. People seemed to appreciate it. And the people that did read it said it was great. It was a good story. So I think of it as kind of, I kind of had my daughter in mind as I wrote it. Like the spice level is going to be good for her in a few years, right? Like she's 10 now, but I wanted it to be realistic. Yeah. But not anything crazy. Well,
you weren't
my wife
going,
told me, when I said
going
having
full throttle smut. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I told her I was going to write a hockey romance, and she says, well, focus on what you know. Definitely make it more hockey. And I was like, thanks, babe. Love you too. Appreciate it.
Well, that was telling.
Yeah. So there's some necking, and that's about as far as we go in the book, I think.
Right. Well, it's a little, there's an art to writing like super 5-alarm spice.
Oh, 100%. I did read some of those, and it's not my favorite. Like, it's not my flavor, right, that I prefer for romance. But I I totally respect the authors pulling it off, because yeah, the ones that work, I'm like, geez, I don't know how I would even,
Oh,
how do I even
no.
go? Like, I can't even figure out how to, ratchet up the tension,
Right.
yes, I don't
Oh,
know.
as a woman, I read some of it and I just like put it down like, man, like, hello, how do you, what? I didn't even know there was a word for this. Like yeah, it gets too much. Finding your
Yeah.
spice level is definitely important. And it's really cute that you were thinking of your daughter, and
Yeah.
a lot
I
of
want it to
men
be
have read it.
not
A lot of
inappropriate. Yeah.
men, a lot of your male thriller readers came over, according to the reviews, I think. Yeah.
It
So
seemed
that was
like it.
cool.
I have a
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
question. So thrillers often rely on fast-paced plots, right? But
Hmm.
hockey romance leans heavily into emotional beats, especially in romance, right? So how did you adjust your character development when writing in this different genre, or did you?
Well, that's funny you asked that particularly. It's funny you had me on the show, because specifically talking about characters, because I feel like that is, I used to say, man, I don't know anything. I have no idea how to write characters. And now I say, yeah, I really should have learned something about characters since I've written 50 of these books. And I still feel like I don't know. I still feel like I don't got it.
Really?
I do. And I know that I have gotten better at characters, right? But I have invested time into practicing them. The Art of Characters. I think it's Matt Bird, whatever that is. Anyway, like I try to read stuff on character development specifically because I feel like it's my weakest, area in writing. But yeah, so with thrillers specifically, I got into writing because I was like, I don't have to worry about characters. I can just write plot. It's just like literally all the characters were these sarcastic middle-aged white guys. Even the women, because that's what I was just writing myself into all these scenes. I had no idea how to develop any of it. And so very quickly I learned, okay, so the plot is what makes the reader fall in love. Sorry, the plot is what makes the reader pick up the book. The characters are what make them fall in love with the story, right? And that's still how I approach it today. With a thriller, you have to have the plot. What's the concept? This high octane, gripping idea or concept. But then people have to do it. People have to do the plot,
Right.
and so those people become those characters. But yeah, with romance, very much the opposite. Like you have to have a compelling character or characters. Um, Obviously, we need plot. You can't write a book without a plot, but it's not really the first priority in a romance, at least my perspective, right? So my opinion was going into it like, this is going to be hard because I don't know how to write characters very well. So I did what I always do, which is continue doing it even though it felt like it wasn't going to work. And I just tried to write a plot that I don't know how to describe it, like that was centered around the characters rather than having it be a plot by itself that
Right.
anyone could do. So I did spend a lot of time before I wrote the book concepting kind of who are these people? Who's the team? Who's the coach? Like what's their thing? Rather than just, you know, sprinkling people into this world that I've created, I really built the people first and then sprinkled the world around them, if that makes any sense at all.
It does.
It absolutely makes sense.
Will you
Yeah.
continue in hockey romance, or was this just a one-off?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I was
are
actually checking
you
this
held
morning.
in now?
I've got a pre-order for book 2 that I probably should start writing because I think the pre-order is the end of August. So
Oh,
Yeah.
I really should jump on that. Yeah, I got to write that one pretty soon.
I guess you
No, I'm
work
going to
well
do the
under
same
pressure.
kind of the same thing that a lot of people do in hockey romance or sports romance, which is write. It's a series, but it's all really kind of just different team members. We're jumping around to different
Yeah.
teammates and the coach. I've got a great idea for the coach's story because his wife in book 1, his daughter is the main character and she's the the
Yeah.
meet cute and whatever. And so, um, her mom, his wife, passed away a long time ago, and so I have such a good idea for him to go and rekindle some romance, and in the midst of these college age, sarcastic hockey player kids, around him. So, yes, absolutely, gonna write some more. The second one will be about another character that shows up in the first one. It's kind of the sidekick. So yeah, I'm excited to do that because I've never done it that way. Every series of mine is always a progression. It's
Right.
this happened and then this happened and then this happened. And so in some sense, it's almost, it kind of reminds me of like Simpsons or Family Guy or one of these cartoon TV shows where you kind of reset the world at the end of each story so that you can kind of live forever in this moment.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that I'll do that. I think I'll
Yeah.
probably have some progression throughout, but I don't know that I want to put like book 1, book 2, book 3, if you will. I don't want to force the reader to have to read them in order, I guess.
Yeah, well, you can have them interconnected and standalones too. But the thing I love, because I am a self-proclaimed hockey romance lover, and I've read a lot of them, is I like it because when you involve the team, it becomes the found family trope. And you'll carry
Okay,
those
yeah,
characters through all the books. And I think that's what gravitates a lot of women to read hockey romance, outside of the typical romance tropes, because sometimes we don't even get all of the sport pieces, although I am a
sure.
big Tampa Bay Lightning fan.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
yeah, whatever.
Oh boy.
You're just
No, that's
jealous.
fine. I have a good
Um,
friend who's a Tampa fan, so I'll allow it.
I'll allow it. Okay. But anyway, but you know what I mean? Like some people who don't even know the sport might get interest from that piece of it, but they're really there for the romance, the found family, the
Sure, yeah.
interconnectedness. So
I
yeah,
never
that's
thought of that, but
exciting.
that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I'm a
Right.
full-time author at this point. So I'm like, I know series sell better than standalones. And so I'd want to have some continuity, some progression, with the characters and their lives, just so that I can call it a series and make it more successful, hopefully.
Sure.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really do need to get going on it.
Oh boy.
'Cause
Yeah.
nothing like
Okay.
a dedeadline to get motivate me.
We're cheering you on. You can do it. My question is, what is it really like in the hockey guys' locker room? Because I've read about it in the romances. Is there just like it's like in the movies, people are just walking around in towels and flapping each other on the butts and like hooting and hollering, and I mean, is there
Yeah,
some
I mean, I gotta say that
misconception?
was one area where when I was reading some of this stuff, I was like, okay,
Yeah,
you ladies have never been in a locker room before. This is
right.
completely, but the grab assery and all that kind of stuff is happening. But here's the deal: like I'm an old fat guy, and I play in an old fat guy league, and so we have a whole different locker room situation.
Right.
Oh
And we have
boy.
ladies in there. I've got a couple of ladies on my team, and so there's all sorts of those dynamics that you read about or see on TV. I haven't experienced. However, I did used to play, locker room sport, team sports, and it was definitely a little bit more loose, I think, back then, middle school, high
hmm
school age, college age,
Right.
when you're in a locker room with other guys. But I think that the truth is, like, I approach it the way I experience it, which is you're all just in there to change and get ready, and so you can joke around and stuff. But in a professional environment like that, there's a lot of people coming in and out. Coaches walking
Yeah.
through, assistant, there's trainers and all that stuff. So it's not no one's in there, doing helicopters and stuff, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
I guess I don't know if that really answers the question, but yeah, I that
Now
was
I have.
one, like, I had to chuckle because I was like, okay, yeah, you tell me you're a lady who's never been in a hockey locker room, without telling me. A lot of the hockey stuff they got right, like these authors were great, but those were the telling moments. It's kind of like in my world, the thrillers, um, the gun stuff. Like
Right.
if you get that wrong, it's a tell, and it may not necessarily be the end of the world, but it's a tell. People are like, oh, come on, like, we know our guns. Can't put a safety on the clock and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, there's just as much research to get the sports right. That's why I can't ever write a
Yeah,
hockey romance, just because
it
the
is, and
research I'd
that's why
have
I
to
don't
do to
do
get
military
some of
fiction.
that right.
I do remember, it wasn't locker rooms. That was one thing that was kind of a tell. I read one book, and the story was great. It was a romance, hockey romance. It was great. I don't want to out her because I'm making fun of this one part, but
Yeah.
it's a kids. I think it's a kids hockey program, and the main characters that fall in love are adults. And so she's sitting in the bleachers in the stands watching this training that I think her younger brother was going to. Right. So that's kind of the setup. So there's all these kids, and she keeps saying that, like, every time the coach blows the whistle, they drop their gloves and fight each other. And I was like, that's
Not the coach.
literally, that would never happen. Like, no coach is going to be like, yeah, you guys drop your gloves and fight. Like, that's just it's not a thing,
Yeah.
and the author kept trying to make it a thing. Like, oh yeah, they keep fighting. These two are in the corner, like literally punching each other in the face. And I'm like, there's 3 coaches on the ice. What are you doing? So that was one
Yeah.
where I was like, okay, so we do fight in hockey, but it's not like that,
Right. And not little kids. I mean, if I saw my son punching someone else, like
Exactly.
little kids, I'd be like, I would be on the ice like, hey, you stop it.
Exactly.
No,
And
that's not what
honestly,
we're
with
doing.
all their pads, when they fall over, it's tough getting back up, depending on how small they are. They look like little turtles.
Yes,
Yeah.
You
exactly.
know, like
Just get
the
50 pounds
coaches
of
and the
pads on a
reps are like
50-pound
picking
body.
them up, you know, and doing the
Right.
prop. So
Totally.
yeah, you got
Yeah.
to be careful of that too.
And before this, I had never read romance. Like I didn't even read The
Yeah.
Notebook. Like when that, I didn't know anything about this genre. So I hope that I captured it
No,
well enough,
Nicholas
but
Sparks, how dare you?
I know,
Yeah.
I know, I know. Shame on me.
You know, well, you definitely did, especially
Oh, thank
for
you.
coming into the genre. But and I didn't either. I mean, I was over here writing superheroes and sci-fi, and then I had to research the template because it's really about what the readers want the beats and where they want like the meet cute and the first attraction is noticing each other physically, and then the mental attraction starts, and then the push and pull starts. And I was like, huh?
Yes.
Like I
Yeah.
had already written romantic subplots based on, the movies that I liked that I thought romantic, meaning like I like the romance subplot in Die Hard. Like that's more where I was coming from. Like let's splash it into the action adventure. Although I
Sure.
don't like the random kissing like in Jurassic World where they're being attacked by pterodactyls and they're like, "Hey, do you want to kiss real quick?" And it
Good
was
time
like,
for a kiss. I know.
"Sure." I
Yeah.
Yeah,
mean,
no,
there's a
I don't want to
dinosaur
be
here.
eaten.
But
Yeah.
sure, let's kiss. This seems like a
Yeah.
good romantic moment. And like I can't stand that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
That's almost a Hollywood trope in and of itself at this point.
yeah, it's like the random
Totally.
kissing. They did it in
Yeah.
like Terminator too. And I was like, what's happening? No, there's a robot after you. So
Yeah.
that I had to learn too. And you really have to. I actually started reading the negative reviews on some of the most famous trad
Oh, that's a good
pub
one. Yeah, it's a good idea.
authors. And if you read what people don't like and you see a pattern, like some people are just trolling. Like I
Sure.
can't, people, if you're listening and you're a reader, please don't leave us a 1-star review because there's a paper torn in your book. That's
Right.
an Amazon problem. But if you read the reviews and you see the commonalities of what frustrates readers, I learned so much from that. And there's a lot of complaints about mostly the female characters, but sometimes the male ones. But that leads
So
me into my
I'll go
next
read your
question.
1-star reviews then. That's a good idea.
Okay. Well, thanks.
I'm just kidding.
There's only, I don't have a 1-star yet. Woo! But there's
Oh,
two
yeah, but-
stars. 2 stars with no feedback, and I think that hurts even more.
That's
they
even
just
worse,
left
isn't it?
you.
Because they've like thought
Yeah.
about it then. They're like,
They're just like being a jerk. But I
Yeah.
learned from the 3 stars, and that helped me write the other ones. What do you think? We're talking about characters. You read a lot of hockey romances. What do you think female writers get wrong about writing men? Was there ever a time when you're like, a guy wouldn't say this? And
not
where
really.
do we find the line between romanticizing men and making them more accurate? But I didn't know if you found that.
I didn't, but look, I read specifically to grasp like what hockey romance was, and I certainly would have noticed if something was like just off about the way that these authors wrote men, but there was nothing that stood out. Now I also read really popular hockey romances, right, and some that I would say are probably the most well known, and so I think at that point they're good for a reason. Like these authors are hitting. Emma St. Clair, Kiki, like she's writing this stuff. This is like her, I don't know, she's like 60 of them out or something like that. Like she's good at all of this. So, but thinking about this question, like I was actually trying to remember, like besides those, and I might have read 5, maybe 6 of them. Besides those, I don't know that I've ever read a woman author. And I know how bad that sounds. I know how bad that sounds. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it's not by choice. I'm not like, oh my God, women can't write. I'm never going to read a woman author. I've never read Harry Potter, guys. Like, sorry, the movies came out and I was like, yeah, wait, save some time. I'm just going to watch the movies. And I mean, I was never into fantasy anyway. So I was like, I didn't read Lord of the Rings. I didn't read Harry Potter. But no, so I've never read a woman. Like I was like, oh my God, I need to go read some women just to see like how different are they. Like I have no idea. In the thriller world, the stuff that I read most of the time happens to be men. James Rowlands, Clive Cussler, Dan Brown,
Absolutely.
Andy McDermott. And so I'm like, gosh, maybe I'm like not giving the women a fair shake. But now that I guess I've read Joanna Penn. So that's in that genre. Anyway, so I kind of thought I had to say that when I saw that question come up. I was like, oh yeah, it's really interesting. The vast majority of what I've read is male written. Anyway, so I don't know, take that for what it is. I haven't read a lot of women I haven't read enough women authors to really be able to answer, is there something women get wrong about men? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Each of the authors, I mean, name anyone, no one's perfect. I can probably name something that they're getting wrong about something, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but not in particular, not with the ones I read. Um, they were also like really good about, like, they wrote that character the way that character should be written. What am I trying to say? Like the stereotype, you know, biker guy or whatever.
Right.
Like I go, okay, cool. I got the biker guy vibe, you know. So it's not really I guess the negative way to say it would be some of these guys weren't as well rounded as characters as actual men would be, actual humans, but they're not actual humans. They're characters in a book. So I didn't bother me at all.
So
I
I
see.
guess since you've written both male and females in two different genres, how do you make their dialogue sound authentic without falling too far into a stereotype? I know stereotypes are helpful in building a character, but you don't want them to be too cliche.
Sure. No, I think it's a great question. I honestly, it goes back to like I've invested a lot of time in research into figuring out how to do that. I still don't feel like I do that very well. I still feel like my characters are all kind of the same, you know, person through all these books. They're not. And it surprised me one time because a reader reached out and said, "Hey, Harvey would never say this." It was a
Really?
beta
A
reader I
reader
Oh,
had. Yeah,
said that
yeah.
to you?
wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I was like,
interesting.
oh my gosh, that means I've actually built a character that like means something through 15 books. And, you know, now they're bringing it up. Like this isn't, and sure enough, the line that in question, it was weird. The way he said, I think he said something like, I can't remember what it was. It was like, babe, hey, babe, or something like that, you know. He's just never done that. And I'm like, yeah, I guess he wouldn't say that. He probably wouldn't say anything like that. He would probably just ignore, you know, skip it, I guess. I don't know. With dialogue specifically, what I've tried to do is, like, I honestly try to ignore the fact that I've got these gender differences at all altogether. I mean, these are characters in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and they're you know, one may be female, one may be male, but if they're on the same team, if they're both, you know, civilian special operations or whatever, you know, the thing I made up, um, and they're fighting a battle together, it really doesn't matter that one's a girl, one's a guy, right? Unless it does. And so if there's a scene where I need something to happen because this female character is just literally smaller and physically not as strong as the guy she's next to, then it'll come in. Then I'll write that in there because that's an important plot point, right? It's something hinges on that. But most of the time, it doesn't hinge on the fact that their genders are different, and so the dialogue I don't think reflects that. Um, in other words, it's just a long way of saying I think I'm really terrible at that. I have no idea how I've differentiated the
love it.
dialogue. But you know, like I said, when that reader told me that, I kind of realized like, oh yeah, these characters do have character now. They have a voice, they have a style, they have a tone, and so I do try to. I don't think I try at this point with Harvey Bennett. You know, it's a long running series. I know those characters like they're my kids, and so I don't really have to try. I just kind of get into that headspace. You know, Reggie sounds different than Harvey, and Harvey sounds different than Julie, who's a little more soft spoken, but still very, you know, she's like real pointed, I guess, in the way that she's direct, you know, but she's softer in some sense. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking as I'm
Mm-hmm.
writing these characters. I'm like, okay, well, who is this, and what would she say, and how would she do it, and then does that translate into something that looks good on, you know, because dialogue, you know, isn't a perfect reflection of human speech. It's like
Right.
it's like a shortcut or something. It's if we put all the stupid ums and ahs that I just said the last 10 minutes, and you know, that doesn't read very well at all. We don't want that. So there definitely is, that's the craft of writing, of course, you guys know, right? And so that's kind of that's where I'm like always struggling, like, well, how do I say this in a way that makes sense? And it's not this like, you know, page long monologue in the middle of a gunfight at the end of the book, because you know that would never be realistic, you know. So how do I shorten it enough to get the information there? Anyway, so this is a long process that I still feel very much in the weeds, you know, figuring out how to write dialogue better, figuring out how to give characters character and voice and style and tone and all that. But I guess, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is when I first come up with a concept, like I said, I'm very plot first with a lot of these, especially the thrillers. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, who should do this plot? Who should do this thing? You know, is it male, female? Does that matter? If not, okay, then just pick one. What do they look like? Does that matter? Then, you know, whatever. And so then I just sort of build them from there. And then by the time I'm in book 2, 3, 4, 5, I've already established enough of that, I guess.
Yeah. Have you written from a female point of view in your thrillers before?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Okay,
So I
yeah.
write almost exclusively third person close point of
Okay,
view.
right.
Yeah, almost. I've done some first person, but Hockey Romance was first person. And I did first person uh male character at one chapter and then first person female character the
Yeah.
next chapter.
Mhm.
So I did do that, and I have done that in the past. The second book I ever wrote, The Depths. The Depths. That's a fun word to say. I've never said it out loud.
Depth. Yeah.
The Depths. The first book I wrote was like all dudes. Like everybody was a dude. Everybody, I mean, I think there was a girl in there, but she, like I said, just sounded like a sarcastic white guy also. Because I had no idea what I was doing. I was like so bad. It was awful, but whatever. Second book, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do one thing better than the last book. And I gotta figure out how to write a female character, female point of view. And so I wrote this particular character, Jen was her name. I had to change it. My editor made me change all the names because I had 25 characters, and I think 20 of them had started with a J. So it was like I had like a Jeremy, a
Okay.
Josh, I had a who's Jack Dawson from Titanic. I had a Jack Dawson
Yeah.
in there. That was
Oh my
fun.
gosh.
She made me change that. Yeah, I'm not very good at this. Okay.
Yes,
Didn't know
you
what I was
are.
doing. So The Depths, I was like, all right, I need to write a female protagonist because that's one area that like scared me. I didn't want to do it in the first book, and I know that I want to write, you know, from a different perspective, and so let's do that. So I chose the hardest thing to do, which is I'm very much not a woman, and I'm very much not a mother, you know, and at the time I was not even a dad, and so I was like, let me make her a female mother, you know, of a kid and all this stuff. So just all these things I had no idea about, no experience with in real life is what I mean. But I did. And then I got about halfway through the book. I didn't know this until after it had been published for like 3 years, but I started reading it again. And about halfway through the book, I just stopped writing her. She's in it, but like I switched to like the guy and just wrote that point of view for the rest of the book. And I didn't really, I mean, I gave her like a couple scenes after that, but I was like, oh, okay. I guess it kind of got lazy and it just gave up on that approach. It was horrible. It was so bad. It's so bad. But I left it there for posterity, so you can go read The Depths and see what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna read The
Um,
Depths.
Then the third book I wrote, the goal was, can I write both male point of view and female point of view? Not realizing I had done it in The Depths. That was the Enigma strain. That was Harvey Bennett #1.
Yeah.
So I came up with Harvey Bennett, gave him Juliet Richardson, who's later on now married to, and they go at it in their little ways, you know, and that was really fun. I think that was kind of the key for me. The insight was like, hey, writing, like everything that happens in a book, the whole reason all of us are reading these things is tension, is conflict, right? And so every interaction that they're having, it's either just going to be pure exposition, which we don't want, or there has to be some kind of conflict and tension. So I made Harvey, Ben is his name, Harvey Ben Bennett, call him Ben. Ben is very reclusive. He's got a past, you know, he's one of those emo kids that like doesn't want to talk about it. And then Julie comes in and she's trying to solve, excuse me, the case, but she's also like very much like in his face, you know, like, hey, tell me this, what, tell me about your background. And he's like, dude, you're so annoying. You know, get away from me. So every interaction is kind of comes with, I call it free conflict. I'm like, oh, cool. I don't have to try. Like it's just right there. There's how would these two people, if he's like this and he's like that, how would they interact? And I think I got that one right. I think I did well with that. I read back over that a few years ago, and I was like, yeah, it still works. It still is accurate, I guess. So anyway, so yeah, I have written from a woman's perspective, but not having been a woman, not planning on being one, I don't really know if I'm getting it right or not. No one's complained yet about that specifically. So
hey, that's
we'll keep
good.
going.
Well, and
Yeah.
you have your lovely wife and your daughters. I mean, you're surrounded by women, so I'm sure there's
She doesn't read my
daily
books.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
Sorry. Yeah. She's the first to admit that she's like, maybe I probably should have read your books. She's never read them. She's tried. They're just that bad, I think.
Oh,
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't
You're
think
so
so. Well,
self-deprecating. What is
I
going
know, I
on with
know.
that?
I don't know. This is how he is. But
You sound like my therapist.
Well, we could explore that. But there's no time. But I mean, at least she's there for like a consult. Do you ever consult her
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
be like,
Totally.
yeah, like, because sometimes I've had to ask my husband and some of my guy friends, like, would a guy see a woman dressed like this and then think this? Is that a guy thing? Like, am
Oh yeah,
I
sure.
onto something? And like most of the
The answer is
time, they're
yes, by
like,
the way,
yeah,
all the
yes,
time. Whatever, yeah,
yes.
whatever you're thinking, he's absolutely thinking.
Yes,
100%.
exactly. And not
Yeah.
in a slimy way, but I mean, like if a
No,
woman,
that's the thing. I mean,
I
yeah.
sent a picture to my guy friends and said, okay, I have a woman dressed like this, a very attractive woman, and like, is
Yeah.
this a thought that he might be thinking? And they're like, uh-huh, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the good ones, like we can kind of self-regulate a little bit better, and
Right.
we're thinking
Yeah, of
we
course.
notice it, but we're not like, oh, ugh, like lusting or whatever all the time. Like, but hey, yeah, like whatever. No, I do. I did pass off a couple chapters to her early on with the hockey romance because it was so new. And again,
Yeah.
having read, I mean, all of 5 or 6 books in the genre, like that doesn't give me an education. I mean, it doesn't give me an expertise. It's just a little taste. So I was like, man, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Does this actually sound like something girls would they're yapping with each other or whatever? That's how I imagined this scene. It's 2 girls like talking. You guys all talk at the same time, and somehow there's conversation. Um, guys, we just get a beer, just look at each other, and that's a conversation. So we each have our thing, right? And so I was like, I sent it to her, just a couple chapters, and she was like, yeah, no, it's great. She liked it. She really liked the Reagan character, and yeah, I think it worked. So again, unless somebody tells me to stop, I'll keep going. I'll keep talking about women, like I know what I'm doing, like I know what I'm talking about.
All right. Yeah.
It sounds like to me that as you've written more, though, you're getting more and more experience. So I think that's something to also note, because sometimes writers, I think, they think they're not progressing in their skill set, but you obviously are,
Absolutely. Yeah.
after so
I think
many.
what it is, Cassie, I'm a musician, like a trained musician, went to school for, trombone, actually the trombone degree. You're welcome. Everybody should know one.
French horn, brass.
Yes. Just kidding. So, so that's a personality in and of itself, right? The trombone player or whatever. But my point is, so I know what it means to actually practice. That's why I don't play trombone anymore. I know what it means
Yeah.
to be at a level where you're like, hey, if I want to get this good, this is what it's going to take. I have to go into the room and very specifically work on this thing. And we as writers don't really do that. That's not how we practice. I don't know any writer that actually sits down just to practice a very specific thing, knowing they're never going to publish. It's going to be thrown away at the end of the day because they're just practicing. We don't do it that way. And so I don't feel like I'm practicing. That's what I mean. When I get into writing a new book or whatever, I'm like, yeah, I'm building all this experience and all that, but that doesn't count because that's not real practice, of course it does. Of course I'm getting better at things. I just wish I was better at understanding how I'm getting better. I wish I was better at going,
You may be more
can I put a
intuitive
metric on this?
than you give yourself credit for, though. Because,
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
such thing as intuitive writers, too, versus,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
plotting things out, or really researching things out, too. So.
Yes. Yeah. No, and I'm definitely much more of I love to plot. I love my plots. Do not take my plots away don't take my outlines away from me.
Yeah.
I'm not a pantser at all. I want to sit down and know exactly what the story is. Yeah. Yeah.
Cassie, what did you do? And how did you approach writing men and writing your female character? I mean, how did you approach just, writing from a male point of view?
Yeah, for years I was a voracious romance reader, even though I didn't write romance for the longest time. And so when I dove into going into contemporary romance, and I write short romances, so they move fairly quickly. I have this whole, read it in 2 hours for busy readers marketing aspect. I did go to my husband because I was like, okay, I know you don't. He likes military sci-fi, so this is a complete departure for him, but he's my biggest fan. So I also went to my oldest daughter, who's 25, who reads a lot of romance, and I wanted to know from her and my alpha readers, like, my chili pepper scores, like what does that look like? Romance is really quite complicated from a marketing concept too.
Absolutely.
And I think for good romance, you have to also consider your marketing if you are going to publish it. So I think for me, it was quite intuitive. just because I had been in it for so long, and just as a reader. And for me, it was really coming to terms with how I wanted to write spicy, steamy scenes, to what extent, what was I comfortable with? Was I comfortable with the verbiage? Also, like, my dad might read this,
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's
am
all
I
in there too.
comfortable with
Yeah,
that? Granted, I'm in my
right.
50s. I should be comfortable with that. All the
No,
things.
but it's a
But
very real thing. My mom is the same way. I'm like, she's gonna read this, so
yeah,
what do I want her to know
I
about how
got
much I
over it
know?
really
But
quickly. I told him, I said, it's spicy. There's sex on page. Like, be warned,
yeah,
kind of thing. But
yeah.
I think you just have to find what you're comfortable with in your space,
That's
and
validating to
Yeah.
me because I remember thinking, okay, well, there's like you said, it's complicated. Like the word clean romance has so much connotation. People are like, well, does that mean all the other stuff is dirty? And I don't want to be dirty, and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's not.
Right.
So I was like, well,
no.
I guess I'll use the word sweet, even though it doesn't mean the same thing necessarily.
Mhm.
But then I was talking to, I can't remember who it was. I was talking to an author in this genre, and she was like, yeah, but if you do sweet, I got the sex part right, like in that it doesn't happen on the page. If you do sweet though, you can't cuss. You can't have the characters say anything
Right.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, God damn it.
Right.
I love
like
it.
that's what they're gonna say. These guys are hockey players, and so I'm like trying to write this in a realistic way, and so I just did. I just intuited my way through it, and I was like, I'm just gonna have them say nothing, real flagrant, but just a shit or a hell, whatever, a damn. Sorry if I just got you guys your explicit content badge. Apologize,
Hey,
but
we're there. It's fine.
I just
I
did
think
it,
we
and
are.
I don't know that if that's holding me back or not. I suspect it probably doesn't matter at all because there's all of 10 people have read the stupid thing anyway. But I bet
That's not true.
once I write 15 of these and have like a big series or whatever, that's going to be something people are like, well, I don't want to read it or recommend it because it's not really sweet. They're actually saying this or whatever. So I don't know. We'll see when we
You
get there.
can do
But
what I do. I call mine sweet and spicy. You could be sweet and steamy, sweet and cussing,
sweet, yeah,
whatever.
that's the thing because it's not steamy or spicy, and it's not, but it's
Yeah.
not sweet because of the language. So I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
I'll come
Well,
up with my own thing and make it even more complicated.
it depends on how old your reader is too, because what
Sure,
I
yeah.
noticed in my reviews is that the younger, more influencer readers were like, oh, there's nothing in here. And I was like, are you kidding? I was sweating when I was writing this. I had to take a shower. Oh my God, this is so juicy. And they're like, sigh, this didn't have any spice in it. I'm thinking
Yeah.
I'm like a 2.65 chili pepper. And then there's some swear words, but like it's a slow burn. So it's not like instant. But the older ladies who that's where I'm trying to market, like to get into book clubs and stuff, they were like, oh, it's perfect, because again, like Cassie said, like if my mother's going to read this, and my husband tried and he got too embarrassed. And so he couldn't finish it. I was just like, okay.
That's a good
But
spice.
even,
Yeah. Like,
I
will
know,
embarrass
he
your
does,
husband. Yeah.
right. He reads your books, Nick. I mean, he reads thrillers. Like, so he likes the good thriller, political thriller. So when
Sure.
he got to like the meet cute and I had some like spicy, the lady was noticing the man in his boxers. He was like, Angela, are we okay? Like, I can't read this. I truly want everyone to read my book, but I guess maybe that helped me in my marketing. Maybe I will market to the book club ladies because the other, not everyone, but some of the younger influencers were frustrated with Cam because I explore like how men can be abused in a romance setting because he had a really traumatic experience with a really awful ex. I think men can experience abuse just like women. They just don't talk about it. And so he was resisting falling in love because of all the trauma and he had to get through it. The older women were like, yes, I love this. So there's no shade at any reader. It just was, okay, maybe I'll just focus my marketing over here to an older audience.
You cannot market to everyone or you're marketing to no one. And that's, you literally just described it. Like, that's why these chili pepper ratings are important. That's why we use tropes in romance, especially. I wish we did it in every genre, but there's the trope right there on the tin. It says what's in the box, right? And so then we can self-select if we're reading something that we're not going to like. we don't have any right to go complain about it afterward. Because it's like, no, I told you right then and there,
Yeah.
there's trauma in this or whatever, whatever the thing is. There's the trigger warning. I don't like to read that kind of stuff. I don't like to feel uncomfortable like that, the trauma stuff. And so I'm like, man, I'm not going to be mad at a book if there's something in there because people are allowed to put that in there. But it is nice to have like the trigger warnings of saying like, this is hey, there's a rape scene or whatever. Like,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
cool. I'm
absolutely.
gonna back off.
Sure. Yeah.
It's for everything. Like that's thrillers. Like if I put something in a book and hopefully I'm marketing it in a way where a reader's not going to pick it up thinking it's Harry Potter, and go, well, there was no magic in this at all. And like 1 star. I'm like, well, you idiot. Like I never told you there's magic in it. Frankly, I said there's not,
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I approach my marketing as well. And the thing is, the truth is there's plenty of people in any of these genres. There's plenty of readers for us. So we don't have to try to market to everybody. It's better to pick that little niche and go and, say, hey, I'm writing this like sort of sweet, clean, but not that dirty, bad hockey romance, for not young kids, but like probably young adult would be okay reading it, but you should ask your mom first. Like that's what I would, it doesn't fit in that subtitle, but.
Rather long.
That's a little longer. So yours is, you could say closed door.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's better than, I know there's connotations around clean romance, although it is an Amazon category, so it is.
And that's why I'm like, hey, I'll use
searching.
It just as it's like an economic term, basically. It's like it's what it is.
Right.
Let them fight that battle. I don't even think there is sex in mine. I think it's just kissing and then, kind of scene, right? So
yeah, I
don't even imply that stuff's happening back there. It's like just.
It's just like
he got tired. He fell asleep. I don't
know. No, it's very closed. It's closed door, which I don't use graphic language to describe anatomy because I think we get desensitized reading it and you're like, okay, another C word, whatever. I can't say that. But I want readers to use a little imagination. Mine is not closed door by any means, but I'm not using that because I'm like, you gotta work for this, honey. Like, I'm not just gonna like go through the literal blow by blow here, like I just,
right.
To me, that's not, I'm more interested in the characters and yes, we want the spice, but because that also sells books. And so I think finding your lane is just do that and the readers will find you and they'll follow. They will.
Now, have either of you ever experimented with like, or is this a thing like where you write the same book, but like one's spicy and one's not? But it's literally the same character, same book.
I've seen that, and a lot of people are doing that.
Really?
And they're doing that, and they're giving away the clean. It depends on the following. If they have a following where like the people are expecting smut, but if you just discovered me and you'd like the closed door version, sign up for my email and get this free book. Now, if your audience is more closed door and there's someone just finding you and they want the smutty version, a lot of people are doing this, and to me it feels like overwhelming, but they are. I've seen it.
I'd rather just write another book, if I'm going to spend all that time doing it. But
my favorite though was it was probably about 10 years ago when people would write only from the female point of view in romance. And then they would get such a following and such a, oh my God. And then they would write the next book, the exact same book from his point of view.
Oh, that's an interesting way to do it.
And that was a lot of fun because half the time I loved his point of view the best. I don't know why. That probably says a lot about me. But I always loved that kind of aspect when they would do that. It wasn't necessarily a gender bender type thing, but it was his point of view instead of going back and forth. And I think that's why I kind of enjoy the dual point of view and a lot of current contemporary romance, because you get to see his point of view through the process of her point of view as they're falling in love. And I think that's...
I do, I thought that was... Mine is kind of romantic comedy, right? So there's the comedy part for me is in there, like, oh my gosh, she's going to think this. Oh my gosh, he's going to think this. And then immediately the next scene, I shift point of view and he's not even thinking about it. He's just like,
I love
like that's like that situational humor.
Yeah. Like the meme that my husband's to give another woman and he's just like,
Yeah.
I think someone
He's
stole
in
my
bed going, oh,
catalytic
no.
converter. You know,
Yeah,
like, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
100%. And so, and I try to do that actually in the book. Like, okay, I know I'm going to end a scene. That's her point of view. And so she's texting and deletes it and texts and deletes it, text, excuse me. And oh my gosh, she's going to think I'm so stupid, blah, 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 blah. And then the next scene, he's like, oh, I wonder what she's doing. I haven't thought about her in a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. And that really shows the importance of point of view too, because you really have
Mhm.
to decide that for your books. I know Angela and I, in our current books, we go back and forth, but there's one book that I recently wrote, and Angela actually pointed this out to me. I have a really heavy theme on equality from a female point of view. And it was like when I switched to his point of view, she was like, it lessens it. So that
Mm.
changed my whole draft, because I was like, you're right, it needs to be solely from her point of view.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Emily Henry has built an empire just writing the woman's point of view.
Yeah.
But I like to do both because I like presenting both sides. And I think sometimes when I've read only one point of view, I felt like I was missing, well, what is he doing? Where is he and what is he thinking? And it adds a little tension and suspense, I think, because you can see what he's doing
Absolutely.
and then she may not know. And yeah, so very interesting concepts. But I guess this is my last question. What do you take with you? Because you start in thriller. I started in superhero sci-fi. Cassie was YA fantasy. Do you take some of the same character building things and then just apply it to romance, or do we just start over and like learn how to do something new? I mean, I kind of had to start over what I knew about characters, because when you're writing characters for action adventure, the characters need to have depth, but the plot is the thing. The action adventure is the thing. It is the third character, if you will. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, your world, there's so much more going on that if your character isn't maybe as strong, you still have the world building and the action and the suspense. But in romance,
Right.
you don't have that, you know?
No, I didn't do it that way. I'm like I said, I'm very much a plot guy. I'm very much an outliner, and I want a plan. I want a formula. I just literally want to paint by number, you know. And it turns out that that exists in romance. You know, probably every genre has their version of it, but romance, like we've said before, is very particular about the beats. You know, got to get the beats and got to hit those, and the meet cute has to happen. And I didn't know any of that or what they were or where they were supposed to happen, but I knew that that rubric or framework, if you will, existed. So I literally just read stuff like, hey, romancing the beat. Like, let's figure out what this what these plot points are and where to put them. And I designed the whole book that way before I knew who was going to be in it. It was just,
Okay.
well, I need this to happen. And then I just literally, it was like a dartboard, just pick some tropes. I want to have the forced proximity or kind of the forced roommate sort of situation, at least at one point. So, okay, what does that mean for a hockey team? Okay, well, they're obviously at an away game and they're at a hotel. And so how do I get those characters? I literally just kind of worked backwards from those big scenes, which isn't altogether different from my thrillers, because I sort of take the Mark Graney, the Gray Man author approach, where he talks about these gosh, now I can't remember what he calls them. They're like the linchpin moments, like the tentpole moments of the book, and he calls them something, but in Hollywood they're like the scenes, the big scene, the motorcycle off the cliff in Mission Impossible kind of stuff. Like that's the big scene. And so how do you get them there? How do you get the bad guy there? What are they trying to do? Why does they go take a motorcycle off a cliff in the first place? I literally just did it the same way for the romance. I was like, okay, well, I know I want to have forced proximity, so that means they're hockey teams, so they're traveling. So it's obviously it's a team member, the teammate, and then I could have the girl. But why would she be there if she's not part? Okay, maybe she's the coach's daughter, like and she comes home from college and has to get a job helping with social media or whatever. Like, so I just did that. And then I eventually was like, okay, well, that could be this, and I could have the third person do this, and that gets the same room key because she's third person's drunk or what, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And so I did it that way, and eventually I had this this like skeleton of the characters, and from there it was really fun because I got to be creative and say, okay, well, who is this? Like, what does it look like? What are his fears? What are his hopes and dreams? And why is he a professional hockey player at this level and not at NHL? There's a story there. So there's all this kind of stuff where I'm like, letting the plot sort of dictate who these characters are. I hope I get to keep doing that. but it's going to happen less and less, I think, as I've already written these characters in one book or two books. But anyway, that's why we're authors, because we get to start over again somewhere else, right?
Yeah, exactly. Cassie, how are you approaching that differently? Or
It's really interesting because when you said it, I was like, oh, I just found the connection. This is crazy to me because in young adult fantasy, it is a lot about found family. Most fantasy are huge casts of characters, usually. I didn't write epic fantasy. That would have been way worse for me. But but nonetheless, they're really big. And so when I sat down and I was like, I'm going to my roots. I'm a Southern gal. We're writing small towns, Southern Georgia,
There you go.
all the
Yeah.
things. I had the town, it was for the setting that drew me in first. And then for me, story is character. Character drives story and characters come first. And then it was just kind of plotting out how the stories would work. And I was like, okay,
Very interesting.
bakery,
Yeah.
romance, bookstore, that's my center point. And then, I'm going on to holiday and then the next thing. But I think for me, that connection, that I learned from a skill set was really that found family and working with big casts. I have to tell you, I have been researching how to do a family tree in an app so I can make it simple for Milanote so that I can show, because it just keeps growing and growing and growing, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to have the firefighters here. Of course, I'm going to have a police force. Of course, I've got a school. I've got my college, dog walkers, all the things that I can branch out to. To me, it's like a soap opera in my head.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of fantasy writers, that's how you start out. Yeah, it just kind of has naturally evolved for me. But I think that's what kicked it into gear. And I think, too, writing fantasy, you have very specific character types to drive plot. And so that was the same thing for me writing short, which I think I do pretty well because I have specific character types to drive it. And I also time jump pretty quickly, too. So, yeah.
No, it's fascinating.
Cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I always start with characters and their emotional wounds and their Myers-Briggs personality type, and then I build everything.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
I always know how my stories are going to end.
Exactly.
I always end up with the end first, and then I go, okay, but what happens here? And usually I get that one, and then I have to figure out my other pieces. Yeah.
Well, this was an amazing discussion. Thank you so much, Nick. And where can people find you? There's a lot of places to find you, but where do you think?
Yeah, I feel like I'm eminently findable at this point. I'm at nickthacker.com. That's my homepage website. Most of my fiction, all of my fiction is there. It's mostly for fiction. But I'm also doing nonfiction stuff like helping authors and coaching, all that at bookcareerinayear.com.
Okay, awesome.
So those are two big ones.
One more thing.
Table topics.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I'm torn between two. The one is very topical because did you all see what happened at the Coldplay concert?
Yes.
No.
Oh yeah, we've been talking about nonstop. So funny.
Oh my God, it's in all my feeds, Cassie. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we'll just ask.
Go look it up, guys. It's so good.
Okay.
It's so awesome.
Okay.
It's so juicy.
Juicy
drama.
So okay, for those of you who don't know, the Coldplay concert, they're just shooting around the kiss cam or whatever, and it shows on this couple who's just holding each other, and then the man, his eyes get like as big as saucers, then he SWAT rolls under the seat and he's just gone, and then the lady goes like this and is covering her face. Well,
an affair.
Yes, CEO of astronomer.com and his HR manager having an affair.
Juicy. And Chris Martin on stage, didn't he say like, wow, they're either having an affair or they're very embarrassed or something like that? Like into the microphone. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then
his like non-apology.
They're related or they're having an affair.
No, it was cuddling. It wasn't really. I mean, if they were related, that's a whole
maybe they're Southern, right? You said I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Well, they're like Alabama Southern, not
Not
Georgia,
I just checked into Threads and there wasn't, I had made a reply on someone's and that is up to like 3,000 views. I mean, it is just eating up the internet. And the funny thing is, if he would have just remained calm and just
Nobody
said,
would have
don't
known.
Yeah,
worry, it's
exactly.
gonna
Wouldn't have
go.
been
Passed
news.
it
No
by.
one knows who we are. It would just been another couple at a concert.
Right.
None of this would happen. Although we want him, cheaters, okay, we want him to get caught and he sounds like a real jerk. But
Absolutely.
anyway,
Yeah.
so this question is, and we can use this for romance, what's the difference between innocent flirting and cheating? That's the question.
Oh.
I'm going to go with intent. And it's kind of a cop-out answer because intent is easy to lie about, I would say, right? But like
Right.
I have personal experience with this because I was accused by my college friends that I
Oh.
flirt all the time. And I can say this because my wife, we've had this conversation many times. And what it truly is, and there was no intent to
Right.
interact in a way that was flirtatious. It was just, I want to make a joke. I want to get the person to laugh. I want to, so the situation would be like at a restaurant, a waiter would come by, a waitress would come by. I'm going to talk the same way to both of those people.
Exactly.
I'm not gay, right? So if it's a guy that I'm like,
Okay.
make a joke or whatever, like I'm not joking about them in a sexual way to begin with.
Right.
So it's literally just talking, trying to make a joke, get them to laugh, that's how I talk to people.
Right.
And so all my college friends who are just a bunch of idiot goobers that didn't know how to talk to girls, accused me of being a flirt. Right. And so I go back to it's intent. Like that's not the intention of my conversation with you is to flirt. So I don't know. I mean, if you grab someone's butt, then that's probably pretty flirty too. That doesn't matter what the intent is. So
Yeah.
Wait, what's the question
I don't know.
again? Read it again.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
What's the difference? Yeah.
We got into a Coldplay thing. What's the difference between innocent flirting and actual cheating, like at the Coldplay concert?
Yeah.
I think that's cheating. No. First of all, you don't go to a Coldplay concert without your spouse and then have your arms wrapped around someone, your HR manager.
Cheating
That's
is
cheating.
physical. I mean, I guess
Is
you
it?
can
that's good.
mentally,
Yeah, sure.
I think you can
Is it?
mentally cheat on someone, emotionally cheat on someone with someone else. I mean, that happens online all the time, but the act of cheating is physical.
I think intent is a big thing. Also, I don't really have opportunities to be like a flirty person, but I think sometimes there can be like but I think there also can be confusion between someone being friendly, like I consider myself, and being
Friendly,
flirty.
outgoing.
Right. And so I've been accused of like, oh, you're flirting with that person. I'm like, who?
Right.
I didn't even see anyone. Like, I'm just talking. I think I'm
Yeah, I
being
think it's important
friendly.
to be aware that like, hey, this is how I come across or can come across, but it's also not my responsibility to have
Right.
the other person feel a certain
Yeah.
way about like,
I'm not asking for your number and
if I'm
calling you
truly not
later.
doing this
Yeah.
to make you feel like to attracted to me or something, then
Right.
that's not my
No.
fault. That's your fault,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I think we covered it. And Cassie, just check into any reels.
Just open
any
social
time.
media today at some
I
point.
mean,
Just, yeah.
I know. Apparently, I have to look at this now.
blowing up. I
Hard
was
to
Like,
miss.
what romance story is going to stem
Yeah.
from this? You know
Oh,
what's
yeah,
going to
100%.
happen.
there will be, and he will
Yeah.
be the villain. And
Yeah,
the
there's
thing
already
is, like,
an adjective. They're saying he got
Oh my
Coldplay,
gosh, Nick,
or a verb.
this is what you
Coldplay,
need
yeah.
to throw in your book that you're writing in
my
the next
God.
30 days.
Yeah, I
That's
should.
Yeah.
that's going
I
across
should.
in the hockey rink.
That's pretty
Yes.
funny. I should. That'd be really cool.
should.
Yeah.
This is also
Kiss
a lesson
cam.
in PR, kids. Like, PR is
Mhm.
everything. And it's the way you apologize. And then he went off and called out Coldplay for disrupting his private moment. And I was like, please.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I know. He got
So-
cold played.
He got Coldplayed. There's new fresh memes out there and a new adjective. So, see,
Oh my
Coldplay.
gosh.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Anyway, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to give us a
Thanks for
review
having
and
me.
rating. Thank you. And
Yeah.
listeners, don't forget to give us a review and rating wherever you listen to the podcast. It really helps with visibility. Next week, we're talking with Sue Brown Moore about her character deep dive thoughts. So until then, keep writing, keep doing. We'll see ya.
Thanks for joining today's episode of The Author Next Door. Be sure to like, follow, and tell us your thoughts of this week's episode. Angela and Cassie would love to hear from you.